Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome in Opendot. Opendot is the Fab Lab created by dotdotdot, the interaction design practice as is hosting and presenting this talk today. Thank you for coming here, for joining us for this matinee. Today OpenTalk will be focused on IoF, Internet of Furniture. So basically, the today topic will be understanding, discussing about the impact of Internet of Things technologies on our daily life, let's say, from the scale of the home until the urban scale. Our speakers, so I'm going to introduce you our speakers. So first of all, Reto Wettach. Reto is the founder of IXDS, interaction design practice based in Berlin and Munich. And then also Carlo Ratti is with us. Carlo is the director of senseable City Lab, that is an MIT research unit focused on smart city scenarios and future planning. Then Jessica Nebel is with us, and Jessica is part of Steelcase, that is a global practice offering design and technology solutions for many sectors, especially for office furniture. And last but not least, Alessandro Masserdotti will present today as well. And Alessandro is one of the founders of dotdotdot, a Milan-based 12 years old interaction design practice focused on connecting spaces and human behavior to technology. So the talk will last an hour. Then we're going to have a space for question and answers. And then we invite you all to enjoy this little breakfast mixed with Prosecco. Okay? So thank you again for being with us today, and enjoy.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction, and thank you for hosting this event today. It's quite Italian, of course. We started a little later than we thought. I have to get used, but anyways. I'm very well, I'm very happy being here, and I'm also very happy to do this talk during the furniture fair, because I think there's a lot of things which are going to change in the future, and I'm really excited to explore the role of design in these changes. I hope to have 3 takeaways for you today, which I would really appreciate if you can take it away and you understand my thoughts there. The first one is the Internet of Things. I mean, that's where we chose this term. So the Internet of Things will change a lot, will change basically everything. I will show you how we see this, but this is a very fundamental change which offers a lot of opportunities, but it's a fundamental change. The next takeaway I hope you take is the Internet of Things is not a technological challenge, it's a design challenge. It is design who will play the role there and who will lead these changes. And I think we have a really big opportunity, but also a very big responsibility in that field. And I think the challenges for designers is really we have to learn a lot of new things. And I think it's good that we are here at OpenDot, because that's already one of the ways we learn new things. But also there's a lot we know already and a lot we can bring into these changes. So there's, we are very excited. And my practice, my company IXDS, is basically very much in this space where connected hardware plays a big role. The first thing is about the term. I'd like to start with this term, Internet of Things. I think this is not the right term, because it's so much focused on things. For me, we speak much more about connected products or connected hardware, but even this term I don't like so much, because I think it is more services based on connected hardware. If you think too much on Internet of Things, you think, this is my oven and I can control it with my mobile phone. The remote control is maybe the most boring part and really in many cases completely unnecessary part of these connected products. They are really fundamentally changing the way they're really fundamentally changing the way we own products. They're going fundamentally changing the way we use products. They are also fundamentally changing the way we work. We will hear a little bit there from the experience from Steelcase. And they are also challenging the way we engage with companies as individuals. I mean, companies in mass industry area, they just drop products on us. Very few companies can do it, and we have to take it or not. And 10 years later, we buy a new car. And this is going to change. And so I think these changes, we are just, for me at least, it's just at the beginning to understand these changes. And we do, I'd like to show you these changes through also how business models are changing. I mean, it's something we need also to learn more as designers, to think in business models, because they become something you design. They are not as fixed anymore. The most boring business model, of course, in products, in connected products, of course, is I sell a product once and I get money for this. This is maybe one of the oldest transactions in human history. I give you something and I get something else for it. And it's nice that it's still existing. I mean, it's also something we should continue to take advantage on, but it is something which is not enough. You will see that the business models are really fundamentally changing. So one of the, I mean, we are doing an ongoing study on how IoT are creating new business models. One is, for example, which is very well known, is pay-per-use. So you pay not once for your car, you pay per minute. In Berlin, I mean also in Milano, I think, you have car sharing and you go into the car and you pay per minute. And then you get out of it again and it's not your car anymore. I mean, that we do this today like this is really a big shift, because yeah, our parents, they all don't even understand the idea of having the ability to have a car without having one. And so this is, I mean, pay-per-use is, I mean, when we talk about Internet of Furniture, pay-per-use, people ask us, do I have to pay to sit on the chair? I mean, I don't think it's going so far, but if you look, for example, the whole development of co-working spaces, so spaces where you rent a desk for a day or 2 days, or a meeting room when you have a meeting, and maybe it's depending on the number of people you are sitting there. So it's already there, so pay-per-use is getting into our daily lives, and we are used to this kind of concept, and it's a huge improvement when you look from an ecological point of view, but also from a point of view, which responsibility does a car manufacturer have? They have to take care of the car. There's not like, oh, it's yours, and if you have a problem and warranty is over, it's not our problem anymore. It keeps to be their problem. So I think it's quite interesting. Another aspect which will change, for example, in business models through Internet of Things, is the way we work. I mean, Uber, they don't use specific connected hardware. They do everything with a mobile phone. But a mobile phone is, of course, also a connected thing. And they can control the way work is done in a very, very precise way. They know when you entered the Uber car, they know whether the car driver took the right road. They even know whether he's driving aggressively or normal. They know when you separated. So they are basically, all the important points of transactions are being controlled through technology, and through this, a better service and a better service experience is enabled. And so I think we will see also a lot of changes there. For example, there have been a lot of startups in cleaning apartments and offices, but they all failed with the Uber model. So it's the Uberification of work. So cleaning was one of the big topics, but they all failed because they cannot control as well as Uber does whether the cleaning lady or cleaning man, is very often cleaning man, whether they come in time, whether they really clean nicely, whether they're careful with the stuff, whether they don't look into your apartment. But who knows? Once I have connected furniture, maybe I can have a completely new lineup of Uber services in my house or in my office. And so you see, just by these two examples, the changes are really fundamental in the way we do business, and as fundamental they are in other aspects, because I mean, life, a lot of aspects are related to business in our lives. So the second point I want to take away, as I said, is it's not about technological challenges anymore. We are very, very lucky. There is so much competition in enabling the internet of whatever. The large companies like Amazon, Cisco, they are investing millions and millions to be the player. There's lots of startups. So the technology is really there. And I mean, again, the Fab Lab culture allows us also to learn this technology quickly. We can prototype within a day. We can start prototyping connected products. So it's getting very easy to deal with the technology. The challenge is really to get into the hearts of people, and that's what designers have been doing all the time, to really understand what is the core of this service you want to enable. And there are three challenges I see which designers are quite good in solving, which are new in this field. But I mean, designers have always been good to work. Dieter Rams, a famous German designer, said designers are good in dancing in chains, mit Fesseln tanzen. So we always work with constraint, whether it's money or technology or the ability of our clients, etc., the technical ability of our clients. There are always challenges or constraints designers work with, but there are new constraints coming through this Internet of Furniture or Internet of Things. One is you have a lot of stakeholders, and it has to be an advantage for all. And actually, usually when I have more time to talk, I make a not so nice comment on smart cities. And I'm looking forward to Carlo Ratti's position on this, because in many cases, smart cities are not win-win-win. We call this win-win-win because every stakeholder has to have an advantage. And I have often the feeling that smart cities are not looking at the citizens so much, and they don't understand why they should be tracked in their traffic and their trash can, etc., because they don't immediately understand the advantage. It's a very intellectual challenge to understand my personal advantage in a smart city. And therefore also, I mean, a lot of the smart cities are coming from not really, let's say, from cities which are not so well known for democracy, I think. But let's see what Carlo is saying to that. But anyway, so the design challenge is to be win-win-win. Another one is you have to design mental models. You have the technology so complicated behind this, you have to make it easy for people to understand what is actually happening, so that they lose they never have to have the feeling of being the stupid one. They have to be really aware that this system is helping them, and not on the contrary, they are feeding a system where some people get rich or whatever. So so you have to design how people talk about the system, and you don't want them to talk, well, then this data sent to a server, and then it's controlled with your position of your mobile phone, and then it's sent back to the door, and then the door opens or whatever. It's really, you have to tell the story, or you have to invent the story people are telling. And the last is, of course, like in all design challenges, you have a lot of technical constraints, especially now battery is a big constraint, then CPU power, so the computer inside of these Internet of Things, they have to be cheap, so the computers are not an iPhone, obviously, but they are something very cheap, but still people expect an iPhone kind of experience. So to get this right is also quite a big design challenge. So, and as I said, the third point I want to say, I think really the designers, as I said, it's a design challenge, but we have to learn a lot. We have to learn a lot of technological things. I think, as I said, Opendot is doing this. We are also, as an agency, we are very involved in the open source community, because we think there's so much to do. We have to share our tools. We have to really, there's a lot of movement in sharing these tools, especially in this field. So I think this is clear that we have to learn a lot, but designers always have to learn. But we also know a lot, and we know a lot which digital people have no idea about. And one of the things, obviously, is, of course, we know about production. We know the whole cycle about real products and how challenging this is. I mean, they have been doing apps mostly in the last 10 years, and the app you can change on the fly. You can, if there's a bug, you just upload the new version of the app and it's fine. And now all of a sudden you have really this responsibility of a product which has to be produced, which has to be shipped, which has to be maybe assembled by people who are maybe not experts. a product which has to be used without having danger for anybody, and so on. And at the end, maybe it has to be thrown away or has a life after its life. So I think designers know a lot about, especially product designers know a lot about these things, and I think they will be really needed. I mean, one of the horrible things in the Internet of Things is if you buy a product and then 2 years later the company goes bankrupt, you have basically an expensive dust catcher, as we say in German. You have an expensive piece of trash in your house because it needs the connection in the back. So I think, for example, that's one of the things we have to rethink. What happens if the company goes bankrupt? Do we have to have a new system in place which allows you still to at least operate the system by yourself, etc.? So I think there's a lot of challenges, and because you're doing these timeless pieces, I mean, idealistically they last forever and are being used forever. I think that's something the whole internet community can learn. So this was a little bit my beginning. These three things, as said, that the IoT will really, or the IoF, will change a lot of aspects in our lives. Designers are the one who will drive this change, and we have to learn for that, but still keep a lot of the wisdom we already have. Thank you very much.
I think you're a bit overtime. All right. Let me just connect this. All right, well, good morning, everybody, and thanks a lot to dotdotdot for organizing this great event. Very briefly, I want to tell you about the first project I did when I got to MIT a little over 10 years ago. The first project I did was a project at a place at MIT called Tangible Media Group. I was working with Hiroshi Ishii. He's a professor at the Media Lab. And with Hiroshi, we developed this thing called Sandscape. And the way Sandscape works is a table. You got sand, and then you got the laser scanner at the top. And then what the laser scanner does is really get a 3D model in real time of what is there, and then you project on it. So basically, as you move the table, as you move the surface, then this surface kind of becomes like a digital one, becomes an intelligent surface. You move it, the scanner knows what it is, and then you project back on it. And then you can use it, for instance, for doing a model or a landscape. Here you see, if you want to move the landscape and see the slope or see other type of analysis, you can run on that, and then it becomes like a dynamic, responsive model. Well, when we did that with Hiroshi around 10 years ago, then we had a dream. And the dream was, what if one day, actually the sand itself could start to dance? What if one day the sand itself we could control, not only project on it and give digital information through projections, but what if one day the sand itself could become alive? And we tried at the time. We tried, but it didn't work. And it didn't work like 10 years ago. You didn't have Arduino like you have today. You didn't have the ability to make miniaturized electronics. It was very difficult. So we tried and we failed. And it was quite refreshing to see that last year, just or a year and a half ago, Hiroshi really kept on working on many of these concepts, and he developed a great project called Inform that does that, brings the sand to life. The music is So you see a person is not there, but you know, your person is captured, you 3D scan the person, and then you transmit, you can move the world in a remote way. And so anyway, this is, and I like very much this project because it really shows you about how we can move into a future where almost every object out there, almost every atom can be controlled. So yes, it's about Internet of Things, it's about objects talking to other objects, but it's almost like every atom out there in the physical world can become a place you can sense and you can control. Now that project also, the second reason I'm showing you that project is that the project is also was an inspiration for what we did together with dotdotdot and with Vitra this year at Milan Design Week. Where we said, you know, well, what if you could turn that actually into a sofa? And so we started thinking about these modules. Every module is connected with another module, and then you can assemble them quickly, put one next to the other. They have a linear actuator, and then so you can create any possible shape you want. So that was the initial concept just 2 or 3 months ago. Then it was kind of a race against time, really, in this place, in the workshop here. Here's a little video that shows you the installation you see in Triennale this year. It's almost like every element becomes a pixel. You can control it and move it up and down. And I want to finish here, but just talk to you a little bit about, you know, this was just, you know, as a reference, but I see all of this. I think what we are talking about today and, you know, what we are seeing at the Salone this year, this project, as many, many other projects, is just, you know, the beginning. It's about Internet of Things, yes, it's about we can, you know, there's three important things, three comments I wanted to make also based on the following the previous presentation. The first one is about Internet of Things is not about things talking to other things. At the beginning, people really were fascinated about your refrigerator talking to another refrigerator. And who cares, you know, what they need to exchange with each other. The exciting thing is actually if your refrigerator is online, and that can change your life. So it's about, you know, the human side, which is exactly what was said before. The second point is that, yes, also in terms of when you think about this, is about smart buildings, intelligent buildings. It's also about smart cities, what people say often with this terrible term. But really, the point is, again, too often is about the technology. No, the point should be about how they can change our life again, about the human component which is behind. And the third comment is, you know, again, you know, see, all of this is very primitive. I'm sure that, you know, like 20 years from now, when we will again meet here in Milan and look at what is going on, all of this will look like, you know, like the Flintstones. And the reason is that, you know, the vision or what you can think about is really this idea that atoms themselves can dance, that matter can dance, that we can start interacting with the space around ourselves in a similar way to what we do with the biological world. The artificial world and the biological world kind of converging and playing with us in a new way. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
first of all, I see that I've occupied two chairs, so maybe someone wants to sit down. Please help yourself. No one wants to sit. Okay. So yeah. Sorry? Too close to the speaker. Yeah, I'm very happy that I have the opportunity to talk here about the Internet of Things. And today I'd like to talk about smart and connected spaces and how we at Steelcase want to use technology to make work life a little bit better. So nowadays the Internet of Things is transforming really every realm of business, from transportation to manufacturing, from healthcare to hospitality. And there are already a lot of things out there, as was mentioned before. So cars get better overnight via automatic updates. There are also watches that track your movement throughout the day and make you more healthier. And there are also thermostats that regulate temperature according to your presence or the weather forecasts. But there's not really much going on in the furniture business, except, for instance, what we saw before. And especially the office, it's still pretty damp. So at Steelcase we think, what can we make that this environment becomes a more pleasurable place? And instead of opting out for a while, we think it's much better to embrace the new technologies and to think about ways how to make the technology work in a sensible way. We don't want to put smart chips and processors into furniture just because we can and just because they become smaller and smaller. We want to make it in a sensible way, and we want to unlock human promise by making working spaces smart. So that's what we are doing with our office that we've built up last year in Portland. We have a big team there, also of researchers, asking a lot of questions to people and to users, how they use furniture. And we also track our employees working around the office, and we want to find out how they really use the furniture within the space to make sensible and realistic decisions. And with this information, we then go to the designers. They start prototyping and try to make, they make people use the furniture again to see whether it works. So it's quite an iterative process. But first of all, we also look at what are actually the problems nowadays in working life. So for instance, what was mentioned before in shared offices, also in open spaces, people are sharing offices, sharing desks, and it's a nice thing to do because it's quite cooperative and you can talk to everyone. It's quite pleasurable, but at the same time also it can be quite annoying because you cannot really focus on work. So how can we make that also a bit more a quiet space to work in? The other problematic is that we are facing nowadays is having offices globally, all around the world. Communication with colleagues and staying up to date is sometimes quite difficult. So if you are sharing screens, you have to hook up somehow your monitor to the system, and talking to each other becomes also sometimes a bit strange and fake. It doesn't feel real and natural. How can we make this better? And the other problematic is that spaces are becoming smaller and smaller. So how can we how can we use the space in a more useful way? And there actually this tracking with the sensors makes a lot of sense, because when we can see how people navigate through the office, we can then rearrange the furniture and the areas where people work in a more smart way. And when we design products and when we want to see how people use the space in a better way, it's good to do it not only by doing single products or smart products, they should be smart connected products, and they should work within a product system. So imagine when you walk around the office and you navigate, imagine that everything, how can you say, forms around you. So for instance, the chair that you sat on remembers the sitting that you had before, and then if you go to another chair, because it's like a shared office system, the chair adjusts to the height you had before. So you don't have to think about these things anymore. You can really focus on your work. And this is just one small example that I was talking about, but at Steelcase we were thinking about other products as well. Like for instance in shared office spaces, co-working spaces. There's often the problematic, maybe you've experienced that being a freelancer, that you go to a foreign place and you don't know which desk is available at the moment. So we've created Divisio, which is usually a screen that is sitting between desks and that divides you from the other person, so you have your personal space and you can focus better. But with this smart Divisio, you can navigate through the office and you see which desk is actually available at that time. And also, we know via research that for many people, temperature is a thing. Some people, they feel it's too cold, or some people, they like it rather warm. Like women, they often freeze in the office. So it shows you the temperature where the desk is sitting. And also, it can show you noise levels, for instance. Like if you want to focus, you can see, this desk is in a more quiet area. And then also, what we thought is quite important, we know that it's quite good to have like a pause every hour to grab a coffee, for instance. So you can set the screen so it gives you a reminder to stand up, also to change your posture, because it's not good for your neck and your back. You should change posture every hour.
You don't need a coffee in Italy.
Yeah, probably. And another feature is that sometimes you need some more quiet time. You need to focus on work, so you can send a message to your coworkers so they know, okay, I should be a bit more quiet. I should not disturb the person on the other end. So this product makes you actually hate the product instead of your colleague. A second product we were working on is Smart Brody. It's like a business class seat in the office. So in open spaces, if you really want your own private quiet time and you really need to focus, you can go there. And what it does, it also adjusts the temperature to your preferred settings. And it can play some favorite tunes that you like to hear or that brings you in a good working mood. Furthermore, it shows you the red line that this seat is occupied. So people passing by, they know, okay, I should really not disturb that person needs to focus. And third but not least, I'd like to talk about VIA environments, which is Vertical Intelligent Architecture. It was designed in close collaboration with Claudio Bellini, a Milan architect. And it's furniture where you can exchange the wall panels. So it grows over time. So for instance, if you need glass walls now, you might want to have more whiteboard walls later. So you can easily exchange the whiteboard, or you can exchange whiteboard with like a smart screen, like a television screen. And what we think is, in the past, you put the technology on the wall. Now it's incorporated flush within the wall with our system. But in the future, we think that technology is actually the wall, and you can interact with the wall. And imagine that if you walk into the meeting room, and the meeting room can automatically recognize that you walked in, and it automatically shows you the colleague on the other end of the world, like in Hong Kong, for instance. So you don't need to press a button and connect to your colleague. It's like walking into the room and he's there already, which makes it much more easy. So in general, our focus is really to unlock human promise by creating great experiences. We want to make work a better place. And yeah, we want to do this by smart and connected products and not some endpoints. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. I have to say sorry because my English is much more worse than the colleagues that was talking before me. So maybe it's better for the Italians one. Okay, I want to start talking. I just do some reflection about the topic of Internet of Things. I don't want to show you any products, or maybe some products, but they are more on a provocative way, or they generate me some reflection about the Internet of Things. I want to start from this experience made by this actually artist. He's a coder. He's quite well known. Kyle McDonald is one of the founder of Open Framework, which is quite well-known framework used by interaction designers. And what he did, actually, he created this software that every 130 keys that he was keying on the keyboard, it just do it. So he's a coder, actually, so he used a lot of computers and keyboards, but he did for 1 year tweet for more than 40,000 tweets, but is really the stream of every key. So there inside in this dream, there's also password, mail to his mate, mail to his mother, or maybe any kind of password or any kind of code. A lot of code, of course, there inside because he's a coder, a software developer. But what is interesting, I saw him presenting this project a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, and the reflection was, what if our life, it becomes completely open? What if our life, our information, they will be open to everybody? So everybody of you, it can be access to my email, my bank account, my Facebook account, any information. I share with you anything. What's going on? Maybe I will be one of the most person there with stolen identity. Maybe all of you get my money, but maybe not, because the reflection was on that if I leave everybody do whatever they want with my identity and whatever, but I want to that all of the people leave trace, so leave a path or sorry. Leave a path. So usually when we use digital devices, we leave traces. So if everybody do whatever they want with my account, they also leave traces. So I don't only have thousands of people using my identity, but maybe I have thousands of people that are controlling and taking care about my identity. So what's happened is that maybe I will be one of the most people with stolen identity and multiple identity, but maybe even one of the most controlled. So what if everything works like that? So maybe we will not have any more people that stole somebody else to each other. Or this is, of course, really utopic situation, but I want to, this inspire me thinking about how is the potential of sharing instead of controlling and getting privacy or getting obsessed about controlling our privacy a lot. I mean, even if there's no way to control it. Okay, it's not working. Okay, this is just an example on how many things are releasing data This is a very interesting website made by a couple of interaction designers and artists. They create this website that just scrape around in the web all of the devices that release information, and they just post on this huge map. It's amazing the quantity of sensor and whatever computer that release data, and they maybe most of them they don't know. For example, if you have a Raspberry Pi connected to the internet, there's a services that release on the internet the temperature of the CPU core. So nobody knows, but on a specific release of this device, they will post automatically this information on the web. This is another product that I want to, that inspire me some consideration about Internet of Things. This is quite well known. I will suggest you to watch the video in the internet. It was done 2 or 3 years ago, more or less, about this interaction designer, Simone Rebaudengo. And actually, this is just a toaster, but it's an internet-connected toaster. And what it does is actually, it does nothing more than a toaster. And this is very interesting from my point of view, that I don't believe in object with internet connection that actually have an interface or something that I have to learn more, or it alert me, or it give me notification about the kitchen which is already in the oven, or the tomatoes which are that I need to buy tomato from the fridge or whatever. I don't need notification. That's a horrible part of Internet of Things. This is just a toaster, so I don't have to learn how to use toaster, apart if I never use it, of course I have to learn it. But what is interesting that it has its own personality and its own life apart from the owner and from normal use. So this toaster actually react on the amount of toast that you make per days. So if you don't make enough toast per days, you start tweeting on the internet, or if like this one. And what is better is that you start asking somebody else if you want to own him. So you don't own actually this product, but is really related to the amount of use, and if he's not happy, he asks somebody else if you want to own him. So he moves from house to house. And so he has his own personality and his own life. So if he's useless or in a house, he has to be moved to another house. So from my point of view, this is a very, very important reflection about how objects they can be shared between each other, or how many objects that we have that we don't use anymore in our house and nobody knows. But this is of course related to toaster, is something not really interesting. But what if, for example, if we connect this sort of reflection on a medicine box that everybody of us has in our house, which almost is, at least there's 3-5 boxes which are next to expire, and we used just 1 year ago because it was sick, and we don't use that kind of medicine anymore, and they are going to expire, and maybe one of our neighbors, they need it. So what if I have a box that is able to understand, or that is connected to other boxes, and they will be able to share this information that I have some medicine that maybe they are precious for somebody else, that they are going to expire, and so these boxes is able to tell to these other boxes, hey, I know that you need your medicine, this medicine, just tell to your boss or your owner that come to my house and bring it, that medicine. Or what if, this is quite future scenario, talking about autonomous car, even if it's right next to the corner, maybe. If the autonomous car, they are not only cars that drive by themselves, but they are cars that knows the situation of the traffic, or maybe knows where the people they do need it. So they move by themselves in a city, and they move from place to place, just picking up person, because they know that there's the amount of person there is very high, and they might need car there. So this is much more useful because we will solve maybe some part of the problem traffic jam that we have in a city usually. Or what if a washing machine, for example, it does not allow me, as my colleague said before, that I can control it by remote control, but he knows which is the right moment to start because he's connected with the power supply or energy supplier company that is sending him, okay, right now it's better to use because the energy at this moment is the right moment to be used. Or is controlled to my neighbor apartment, and they say, okay, I start first, then you start later on, and so on. This is in the direction of saving energy, which is, from my point of view, is something really, really, really important. Okay, slide disappear again. This is part of computer, internet, or whatever things. Okay, doesn't work, okay? Okay, so my point is, I jump to another concept, which is the concept, I'm talking since? Okay, 3 minutes more, thank you very much. The IoT somehow inspired me something related to artificial intelligence. We used to think about artificial intelligence in science fictions, or even in literature in general, as artificial intelligence is something that looks like humans, or that it have to be like humans. There's also this Turing test that is say how many how many questions I have to do until understand if is a computer answer me back, or that's, I mean, completely the wrong way how to think, because actually artificial intelligence is not that. There's already human intelligence that works. So artificial intelligence is something that we should focus on something. I want to do a question to a machine and immediately understand that it's a machine. I don't want to take care about it is a human or not. I mean, and the most important thing is that what the machine, they can do better than us. So Internet of Things, in my mind, is something that is object with a sort of smartness, so a sort of artificial intelligence, and every object, it can have it. And what it does, what they do actually better than us is managing data, that human brain maybe is not as smart as computer managing data, and do multiple actions at the same times. Even actually women, they can do as well, but not as much as computers anyway. So the point is that maybe in the future, IoT, it will be something that is going in the direction of sort of collective or multiple artificial intelligence or multiple objects that might be connected together, and I think that they can solve problems by, I mean, I don't want objects that interact with me. I don't want objects that alert me or that give notification to me or that give me something more that I have to think about. I want objects that they have their own life and they might interact with me as less as possible. That's it. Thank you very much.
I don't remember your name. I can recall your accent. Sorry. You were talking about your takeaways. The second one was about the designer that can change the world, basically. First of all, I would like to understand what type of designer do you have in mind, because so far, I mean, in my experience, I don't come from the design, quoted design traditional, at least in the way it's perceived here in Milano during this day. And because to me, design is becoming more and more irrelevant to respect technology, and designers are just picking back on technology. Let's take the example you were mentioning. For instance, pay-per-use. I mean, in technology, people, not nice people like Bezos, back in 2005 started the cloud services in pay-per-use. Where were the designer? I mean, at that time, thinking about something very innovative. I mean, I think we need design. We can start instead of talking about Internet of Furniture or things, ubiquitous experience, whatever. Even in the language, I mean, designers are just getting on the back of technology. They are not driving any real innovation.
Thank you very much for this question. It's challenging. It's a provocation, of course, because I'm completely opposite the opinion. So we have had a long time where technologists ruled the world, and we had computers which were awful. We had computers which made us feel stupid. We had computers which kind of dictated how we had to live and how we had to work. And this fundamentally changed. I mean, the success of Apple, the success of Nest as a quite famous connected product show that this is you have to understand the context, you have to understand the people, you have to understand also what people are afraid of, you have to understand how they talk about things, and then you have to incorporate this into a solution. And we have the methods. We have the methods to understand this. We have the methods to prototype this. And we have also the methods to kind of test our own ideas to kind of get feedback and understand how to improve. And if you look these days in important innovations which we are using, they are driven from designers. I mean, to be a co-founder at Airbnb is a designer. Yeah. Co-founder at, central founder at Nest is a designer. So you see, I don't want to, I mean, now I just saw my friend Massimo Banzi is here, and we know about how important technology is. I don't want to say we don't need technology and we don't need research or development in technology, but it is about the art and the skills of making this into something we humans want to use.
Yeah, but you have to remember that all you're talking about comes from the Zero Sparks. That was not a place where was this the design where, I mean, they were doing design without, I mean, but because everybody's doing, in some respect, design. That's why I was asking, which is your, I mean, definition or idea of designer, because, I mean, most basically, for instance, in Italy, product design or design is related to physical products, not really to service, even though there are many, I mean, but the heritage is there. And my feeling is, from the educational point of view, take all the school in Milano, and most of the school in Europe, with a few exceptions, are much more driven by the traditional. In Italy, driven from the architecture department, I mean, university. So we need something different, I mean, because talking about the design being at the center of the world doesn't bring that much. I mean, the example of Airbnb, a few others, are very few. I mean, they are not widespread.
Well, it's changing, and I mean, we like to joke sometimes in our company that when we are done with our work, we see ourselves as designer. We need sometimes some real designer making it look beautiful. But no, I completely agree. This is a shift, and of course we have to be careful because we have. In German language, the word design is so misused. You have nail designers, etc. And so, of course, we need to change this, but the current understanding of design is more than decorative art, definitely. But thank you for the question.
I have a question for Alessandro, obviously, and Steelcase. First of all, we really want you to have a show on Discovery Channel because it's the best. No, you should have a show on Discovery Channel because you are the best. I want to see it every day. And anyway, I think that my biggest concern about objects in general and furniture connected, it's that I would like the biggest problem about objects today is that most of them are just too serious and too practical and too commercial. And I believe and I hope that in the future the Internet of Things and Internet of Furnitures will bring some soul, happiness, you know, the funny part into furnitures. And in your speech, I saw that you might believe the same, and you like that aspect too. But in the presentation of sorry, I don't remember your name right now, in the speech of Jessica, I saw, obviously, like, coming from a different company and a bigger company, like a very I mean, mandatory but serious approach and very commercial approach to certain radicated business models, because you have to produce something that you absolutely have to sell, and you have to match the needs of clients, of as many clients as possible. But those are probably the commercial needs. And what about all the other needs of all the other people that just want to have like a little bit more fun, or I don't really necessarily want a chair that is comfortable, but I want a chair that maybe makes me uncomfortable just when the chair wants. And isn't it that like an interesting commercial aspect too, or it's not even in the plans in the future for you, for both of you?
Well, I think especially in our sector, it's quite important to make products that people can rely on and that people can use in daily lives, because you use the chair every day, and if it disturbs you just for the sake of disturbing you, it doesn't really make sense. I think it's cool to have these concepts that make you question objects. I really love that when I go through exhibitions through Milan and there's some quirkiness in objects, and you can laugh about them and think about daily use of objects. I think it's great. And but I think if you want to sell products to a large audience, and especially to choosers, to business companies that want to furnish their offices and that want to make your employees more productive, then it probably would not make sense to keep them moving all the time, except for the reason that it's more healthy for your back and your neck. So we try to put some little things like this hush feature or the coffee break thing to make you smile a little bit, or you can send maybe notes also to your coworkers, like nice notes or post-it notes. So we definitely think about this aspect as well. It should be human, that's for sure. Yeah, and I mean, what we also think what is important is not to have extra black screens in your office, because you have so many black screens. It's nice to humanize technology by putting it, for instance, behind a fabric and making it look a little bit more friendly.
Right, of course, in the real world it works different. As you said. Now, actually, I believe a lot in irony and happiness, of course. It's part of, I mean, as designer, even if it's not only it's part of our work, is solve problems. And maybe sadness is one of the problems that we should deal with. And of course, and in another way, the serious part of many design furniture and whatever, I mean, it's just because most of us, we work in that direction. Maybe we should try a different direction, and who knows, maybe we fall, maybe we win. I don't know. Of course, it's much more easy to do a more philosophical speech as I did instead of being focused on products. That is much more difficult. Of course, but I believe that, I mean, this may be one of the, we should be more focused on that kind of solution that most of the people, they do need just happiness most of the time. We have a lot of problem already solved by many things. Thank you very much.
Okay, here. we are the corner of for provocation, I think. I want just to share something that came to my mind with the IoT in general, but especially also with IoF, which is a fear that I'm feeling, is about the speed of a change. Technology, as you know, unfortunately, is pushed by change the standards, like the wireless charger, for instance, or the communication standard, like Bluetooth standard, Bluetooth low energy, or the other stuff like that, just to mention some of them. And our object, maybe they don't need to change so often with that speed. So I want to understand if you, some of you, or even the audience maybe, have been thinking about how to conceive a product in the physical way that can have a technology that can change with its own speed if it's necessary. If not, we need to change a chair every 2 years, because then the communication is not the same, that doesn't communicate anymore with our other object. So this is, I think, is a challenge from technology, but also is a real challenge for designers, I think.
So one thing that we could consider as designers in terms of future-proof design is creating something more like modular. So you don't need to throw away the whole object when the technology went further. Maybe you just exchange a small part of, like the technology part, for instance. If that's easy to exchange for someone, that could be a possibility. Another possibility, I'm not sure, I'm not talking now for Steelcase or furniture, I'm just talking in general. Some things, like for instance, I think there was this Revolve device, and Nest bought it, but it's not on the market anymore. And what could be maybe more interesting, instead of selling actually devices that become outdated, is selling more a service. So you get that product, but you pay a monthly rate, for instance, and then you get maybe an updated product afterwards. That's just one thought that could be possible. I don't know if other people have more ideas around that.
Actually, these of the, I mean, technology, they grow a lot, but right now, most of the technology that we need in order to keep something smart is already very high. So I think that I'm for example, Arduino actually, which one is one of the devices that grows a lot, research on Internet of Things and whatever. It's quite a very old technology still used. So the microcontroller itself is something that comes from the 90s. So the revolution, again, is not the microcontroller itself, is, for example, in the case of Arduino, is the IDE, so the way how you code it, and the community behind it. So these two things, which are always moving and developing and keep growing and so on, they are not connected to technology, which is always the same, more or less. Of course, there's always something changing, but for example, most of the technology that we are using right now, they are new just because they are cheaper, but they are quite old technology. Right now, the point that we reach right now in terms of smartness and intelligence is already really high. I think that if a chair, it has a life of 10 years, even the technology that there's inside is gonna, if we can keep them update in terms of firmware and software, that's more than enough, I think. Of course, the point is the service behind that. So if I buy a very expensive thermostat, but it's supposed that I'm going to pay even the service behind, which maintenance, updating, and so on, that is the most expensive part. So I don't know if pay per use or pay per month is going to be the solution, but I'm not afraid about technology getting old.
I'd like to put a new element here because I was connecting some parts of different speeches and thinking about a human factor like a delay, a good delay, because we're talking about technologies growing really fast and people and design that is people-centered, like moving behind it. But maybe this delay is the original part of the human intelligence Masserdotti was talking about, and is the thinking part, the process of re-elaborating things.
I don't know what to add. I think you're right.
Exactly, me as well.
Thinking about intelligent products, we had different kinds of approach. The one with the products that goes on itself and does everything you need, and the other a product that you normally use and maybe have some extra feature that you don't notice. So it's obvious that these two kind of projects can coexist, because the environment is different. An office is different from my home. So how controlling technology is important? I mean, I feel very uncomfortable when I think that technology kind of controls me. So what is your point of view on this subject? How much do you think control is important in this kind of products? For each one of you is the question.
I think it's always important that the benefit for you is bigger than the fear of being controlled. So as long as you feel that the product works for you and that it makes your life better, then maybe you accept more that there is some kind of control over you. But as long as that is not given, then of course the control is maybe rather a bad thing. So that's always important, to do a product that is really, really useful and beneficial. That's my thought. Do you have another one?
No, I think so too. I think maybe I can take a stake on the artificial intelligence discussion happening these days, where there is this artificial intelligence and then they tell you what to do because they calculated everything and they came to that conclusion, and you don't understand how it works. And I think we have the financial crisis, for example, was part because bank managers did not understand what their own artificial intelligence algorithm would do. And there I think really, again, this is a design challenge. I really think we have to, and we are working on this, we are doing research on this to get it more transparent, to find ways of making complex algorithms a little bit more transparent to non-mathematicians and software engineers, because we want to be in control there, and we want to have the feeling of being in control. Again, on the other hand side, it is a very philosophical discussion. In daily life, you are happy if stupid tasks are being taken and you just don't know how exactly the algorithm works, but it works, like Google. It works for you, and so as you said, I think this is a very important point. It is a benefit for you.
Yes, just to add something more, is that it's a question of transparency. I mean, if I will be able to look at the algorithm that Google used in order to personalize the research, I will be much more happy. So because I can be perfectly confident, because, or anyway, I can fight against it because I perfectly know what it does. So the problem is that if I have the possibility to understand and know everything, I don't care. I'm not afraid. If the two things is that I have to choose, and it has to be perfectly everything transparent to me.
Hi. I think there is a gap. There is a gap, and I mean, like, aside from two exhibitions that are now at the Salone, there is Design Academy in Dublin is presenting Touchbase, which is an exhibition which is kind of against the Internet of Things, because it goes back to the real, like, traditional crafted point of view. Whilst ECAL, Geneva is presenting When Object Dreams, which is exactly what you said before, because how it is related how the person, how the internet thing is perceived from the point of view of the person who uses them. So on the side, we hear that technology is advancing quite a lot, but on the other side, I think that there is this kind of counter movement against, not against, but it's like they didn't really understand, or they're a bit fear, or they fear what it might be, the Internet of Things, and what. So how these two, and how as a designer you could like bridge that gap, because people probably is a bit afraid of this new technology, and they probably, even if technology is gonna be out probably next year, probably they're not ready yet to receive it sometimes.
Well, I think this is definitely a challenge to do this right and to find the right approach. I completely agree. There's a lot of things people are afraid of, and some of the things are very emotional and maybe rationally not right, but some of them are also completely right, and we have to address them. I think people are much less stupid than we might think. So there's a lot of products which completely failed, like Google Glass, where you can also be afraid, recording everything you see, etc., etc. And I think it's quite interesting that how heavily it failed. This big company putting lots of money, and the founder investing his time in doing this product, and nobody accepted it. And I think this is also gives me hope that that the products need to be designed right so that they fit us. And I think it's a design challenge in the first place.
Yeah, and I think also the Internet of Things gives a lot of opportunities. I mean, we often also think about, or like when we get older, maybe it's a bit more scary. We don't keep up with technology, but then there are solutions for older people that they can live better in their place, because actually they are a bit more tracked at home, but they are not relying that much on someone being there all the time, so they can live independently. Or for instance, I saw later an older woman in the train using a Kindle, and I think for her it was great because she could adjust the text to her eyesight, for instance. So things technology can make things also a bit more human and help as well.
Hi, I was thinking about something related to the thing we were saying about the perception of Internet of Things, of interacting products. And it's more from the designer point of view, so from the interaction designer point of view. Maybe it's more a method discussion. Usually, traditional industrial design drives is a physical interaction principle from the observation of nature, from the observation of the world around us, and it draws interaction metaphors that are used to let people understand how the product works, how you're supposed to interact with it. So from an interaction design point of view, classical interaction design, digital interaction design, based its strength on strong metaphors. For the Internet of Things, I think we are lacking, as designer, source of inspiration from metaphors. So from your point of view, is there some field or some practice industrial design can do to drive inspiration from new metaphors? Because I think really understandable metaphors can bridge this gap between the perception of connected things and the actual use of these products. So it was just about wondering if somebody of you have already thought about some new design field or new design practice that could help understanding better how to make these metaphors and how to communicate them to the users and to the products itself.
Well, as I said, I think this is exactly the challenge. I think this is really the big challenge, and there are some strategies like you build on existing metaphors, as you already mentioned. So, but I think this is really a very strong challenge, and to find, I mean, to find the right, as I said, I was rather talking about mental models, but to kind of, you have to design this as well, otherwise it becomes a very technical product. And that's the beauty, and I think it's not, there will not be the one metaphor, it's really because they are in different contexts, so I think they will be related to the contexts where things are happening. Good.
I think we can close. Yeah, so thank you to everyone who have came here, listened, participated. I think that we really perused a lot of topics this morning. And now we can close this matinee and then enjoy a little bit of breakfast and a bit of wine, if you like. Thank you for coming.